lunch at a restaurant. Yes, that's what she'd do. If she was going to die one way or another, she preferred to spite her husband on her way to heaven. With a shaking hand, she touched one of the colored wires, following its path from a cylinder to a small box at the underside of the vest. If she pulled this one, would the bomb detonate? She gripped the wire but released it without pulling and glanced toward her guards. Maybe she should wait until more of the men surrounded her. 2 men wouldn't hurt her husband's plans. In his mind, warriors were just as disposable as misbehaving wives. But if she took out a dozen or more, his plans wouldn't be ruined, but it would take him time to replace the men he'd lost. She rather liked the thought of stalling him. Movement at the door caught her attention, and she dropped her hand away from the wire, stuffing it underneath her thigh lest one of her guards realize what she was up to. Out in the hallway, the 2 were talking to someone. The conversation was muffled, but she had little doubt this was the order to take her to Kabul. Again, she gripped the wire as her guards moved away and a shadow filled her doorway. She imagined Jahangir standing there, closed her eyes, and yanked the wire. Nothing happened. Tears burned trails down her cheeks, and she grabbed another wire and another. Still nothing. The shadow in the doorway swore under his breath and strode into a beam of light cast across the floor by the rising sun. He crouched in front of her and caught her wrists. "Tahani, don't. It's not active." She blinked until the shadow's blurry face came into view. Zakir. Unlike some of the other men, he kept his dark beard neatly trimmed and took care of his appearance. His eyes were such a rich, dark brown they appeared black, but they weren't soulless like her husband's. She'd always liked him, and betrayal left a bitter taste in her mouth. How could he have been involved in this newest torment? "It's not active," he said softly again. "I made sure it wouldn't hurt you." He checked over his shoulder, then surged to his feet, moving so fast it took her brain a solid second to catch up to him. He scooped her into his arms and had her halfway out the window before she even thought to fight him. She sent a fist flying and he dodged it, but wasn't fast enough. It glanced off the side of his head. "Fuck!" Tahani froze and stared at him, torn between shock and terror. She didn't know many English words, but she'd heard that one often enough, and the way he said it reminded her of the American soldiers who had visited her village. Same accent and everything. "Who are you?" she whispered. "You need to trust me," Zakir said in flawless Pashto, and she wondered if maybe she'd misheard him a moment ago. He'd never spoken English before. As far as she knew, he didn't understand any more of the language than she did. Maybe he'd picked up the swear word from the soldiers, too. At the sound of voices in the hall, he glanced toward the door and swore again. This time, there was no mistaking the language. She struck out at him. "You're American." He avoided the blow and caught her wrist before she could try again. "Tahani, stop it. Do you want to leave here?" She stared at him, barely comprehending his words. Leave? Of course she wanted to leave, but she had already tried multiple times and it was impossible. He had to be playing a trick. "Do you want to go home?" he asked, staring straight into her eyes. There was no deception in his gaze, and her instincts told her she could trust him even before he added, "I can help you." She nodded, her heart thundering in her throat at the possibility. "I'm going to lower you out the window," he said. "Run for the trees. I'll be right behind you." Sergeant Zach Hendricks lowered the girl to the ground and vaulted after her, cursing.